to right now. We have literally seen the repercussions of people being forced out of their jobs, forced out of their communities, forced out of their friend groups. So I think that the silent majority is even more silent and growing even larger this time around, and that's why you're not necessarily seeing the polling add up, although that could just be because the polling is always screwed up.
Could be, because in 2016 we had those issues. Thank you, Amanda. Now let's go to Maggie and David. Maggie, what are people saying and what are they looking forward to tonight?
I can hear him. Well, the energy out here is amazing, per usual, but you can just feel the enthusiasm and the excitement out here in Swanton, Ohio. I don't know, David, you've been speaking with people all day. What do you feel like is going on? What's the energy like?
Well, there's a lot of energy. It's palpable. These people are working class. Toledo's been through a lot. Most of the people here are machinists, manufacturers. They're very heavy in manufacturing here, assembly plants. Steel is back because of Trump. There's a lot of industries that are doing well, especially healthcare. But I just wanted to say that Trump is gaining ground in the battleground states, and in Ohio particularly, he's up 5 according to a recent local poll, and he's gaining ground with suburban white women. He's gaining ground with college-educated men, white men and women, and he's also gaining ground with independent voters throughout the state, and I think it's going to continue. He's down 8 nationally in the Real Clear Politics average against Biden. I don't see how that's really possible.
You know, I don't trust the polls. I haven't trusted the polls since 2016. And it's funny because, I've got a pretty big social media following, and I have a large extended family-in-law that lives in Ohio. I've got over 30 of them. And they send me pictures every day of just Trump sign after Trump sign. When they drive through their neighborhoods here in Ohio, it's just Trump signs for days. They don't see any Joe Biden signs or Joe Biden bumper stickers. So it seems like maybe the polls are off. Maybe there is a lot more support for this president.
Well, they're saying nationally that Biden is doing 5 points better than Hillary was at this point in the election. There's a phenomenon going around and, of parades, boats, trucks out all over the country. It's very exciting for the people who come here. We're going to go back to Jessica in the studio.
All right. Thank you, Maggie and David. We'll get back to you in a little bit also. But Ohio is a major battleground state when it comes to presidential elections. The Hawkeye state is worth 18 electoral votes and is said to be a good predictor of who will win any presidency. They've only gotten it wrong once since 1944. In 2016, President Trump beat Hillary Clinton with an 8% margin, the largest margin since 1988. And Ohio is home to 11.5 million people. 82% of those people are white or Caucasian, 13% are black or African American, and 2.5% are Asian. Ohio's economy runs on aerospace and defense, bioscience and healthcare, along with education. And some of the top major companies that are headquartered in Ohio are Procter & Gamble, Marathon Petroleum, Nationwide Insurance, Macy's, Progressive Insurance, and Goodyear. Currently, the polls show President Trump, on an average, is up in the Hawkeye state, but only by 0.5%. So, Tudor, not only is Ohio a major battleground state, but the recent death of Supreme Court Ruth Bader Ginsburg on Friday has now added another layer of chaos to an already chaotic election year. What do you say?
Absolutely, yes. And we anticipate that the president will speak about that tonight, but he has said that he won't make his choice until Friday or Saturday. So I really don't expect him to spend much time on that. He's made it clear that he wants to allow the mourning process to go through. He wants to give this week for people to give their thoughts and prayers and get past this death, because really the country is mourning. We talked about this on America's Voice Live earlier today. This woman was an iconic figure. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was a pioneer in her field. She worked for women's rights. She worked for equal rights. But little girls can look up to her, and we will. Our daughters will look up to her for years to come, and she will be a historic figure that we learn about, because she went to law school in a time when most women weren't even going to college, and she ended up becoming a Supreme Court justice. This was a huge accomplishment. What he said, what the president said last Friday when he found out about her having had a great life, it was really true. And I think that he will not focus on this tonight. He will bring it up. He'll talk more, I think, about the fact that Joe Biden refuses to come out with a list of Supreme Court justices. I think he'll push hard against the fact that if he did come up with a list, they would be radicals. We've heard AOC come out in the last few days and say it's time to radicalize. She's called on people to essentially start a civil war. She's saying that we have to have these movements to take over our government. And she's saying that Joe Biden is just one step in that process. So I think that we're going to hear him pushing back on that tonight. But he's also going to talk heavily about what's important to Ohio. So we're going to hear a lot about that. We heard David talking about the steel industry. There's a lot going on in steel in Ohio. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but he's going to address that. Also, they talked about the Joe Biden signs. Jessica, we're experiencing the same thing here in Michigan. However, the campaign has come out and said they don't have their offices open. They don't have the signs ready. We don't know why the campaign wouldn't be ready. I think they're saying there's something to do with coronavirus, but we're hearing that the signs just aren't there. So that may be what we're seeing in Ohio.
And you know what, interestingly enough, Tudor, yesterday when we were driving, I saw my first Biden sign and I had to take a double, triple look because I almost couldn't believe what I saw. It was so amazing because you see so many Trump signs all over the place and I have yet to see a Biden sign, but yesterday was the first one I saw. And you know what, I don't maybe support him as a candidate, but you know what, I give those people a lot of credit for having that much courage because it was in a sea of Trump signs. So I guess we'll have to see if those signs come out, if we'll see much more of them. And keep it here with us on Real America's Voice as we continue to bring you live pre-rally coverage of the president's rally tonight in Swanton, Ohio. You're going to want to make sure to text MAGA to 888-111 for your America's Voice app, where you will get exclusive, unedited, behind-the-scenes footage when there are rallies, riots, protests, and conferences across the nation. So when news happens in your city, you can upload and maybe even join us here on air so America can hear your voice. And now we're going to head back out to Amanda over at the airport in Swanton, Ohio. Amanda, Tudor was just talking about, we were both just talking about the death of Supreme Court Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Specifically, did you talk to anybody today, and did they have anything specific to say about her death? Can Amanda hear me? Amanda, can you hear me? I don't think Amanda can hear us. Okay, so we'll try Amanda back in a minute. Let's head out to, do we have David and Maggie? Do we have David and Maggie? Okay, we're going to keep it in studio with me and Tudor. Tudor, so we're going to stay on the Supreme Court nomination that President Trump has promised either Friday or Saturday at the latest. Supreme Court Ruth Bader Ginsburg died Friday at the age of 87. We know that due to complications from pancreatic cancer that she had been fighting. The news broke while President Trump was speaking in Bemidji, Minnesota on Friday. But the president didn't mention it, which a lot of people faulted him for. But you know what? The president says he didn't know anything until he was on his way home to Washington, D.C. after a speech. Let's take a listen.
She just died? Wow. I didn't know that. I just, you're telling me now for the first time. She led an amazing life. What else can you say? She was an amazing woman. Whether you agreed or not, she was an amazing woman who led an amazing life. I'm actually sad to hear that. I am sad to hear that. Thank you very much.
And President Trump says he will make a nomination by Saturday, and the nominee will be a woman. Here's some of the reactions on that announcement.
That moment is now for the voters to get a chance to be heard. And their voice should be heard. And I believe voters are going to make it clear they'll not stand for this abuse of power.
Some have mentioned the possibility, if they try to push through a nominee in a lame duck session, that you in the House could move to impeach President Trump or Attorney General Barr as a way of stalling and preventing the Senate from acting on this nomination.
Well, we have our options. We have arrows in our quiver that I'm not about to discuss right now.
If Republicans then we should leave all options on the table, including the numbers of justices that are on the Supreme Court.
Would you be in favor of expanding the court?
I think that's absolutely an option that we should be weighing.
And our own Raheem Kassam from National Post spoke with Donald Trump Jr. earlier today, and here's what he had to say.
Donald Trump Jr., just before I let you go, got to get your thoughts on the Supreme Court nomination. The Democrats are saying you shouldn't be doing it. President Trump doesn't have the authority. Your father doesn't have the authority to be doing this right now, this close to an election. Your thoughts?
Of course he does. This is Congress's job. If you look at Obama himself, if you look at Ginsburg or stuff, if you look at the people who all had quotes on this 4 years ago, when you had a White House that was controlled differently from a different party than the Senate, all of them said it's ridiculous. You must get it done now. You must do it right away. You must do it immediately. Now all of a sudden that tune has changed. Of course you get the typical partisan hackery immediately out of guys like Chuck Schumer, who rather than even acknowledge the death of Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg, immediately went into political mode. But that's to be expected. The Democrats have been doing this, whether it's with the Russia hoax for the last 4 years. They'll turn anything political. They'll try to do anything. And they have a mainstream media that will carry their water. So I'm sure that message will get out there. But I'm literally looking at the video clips over the weekend of all of the people on the Democrat side saying exactly the opposite of their tune today. The difference being that the White House is occupied by a Republican and the Senate is controlled by Republicans who have the absolute right to do this and should do it right now. They say elections have consequences, and this is one of them. This should get done.
And now let's head out to Amanda Head in Swanton, Ohio for her. Amanda, what are your thoughts? What is your response in regards to how the Democrats or the left have reacted to President Trump's wanting to nominate somebody this week?
Of course, making the comparison to 2016 when Justice Antonin Scalia passed away, and the Republicans refused to give a vote for the man that they wanted to put forward, Merrick Garland. The difference is, and this is why it is hypocritical, although it's politics, so that's kind of the language that they speak in. But the difference is that Republicans held the Senate then, and they hold the Senate now. So if Republicans don't want to hold a vote, if Mitch McConnell, as Senate Majority Leader, does not want to hold a vote, then he's not going to let that happen. And the American people voted to expand the Republican Senate in 2010, 2014, and 2018. It is very obvious that the American people trust Republicans in the Senate to make the right decisions, to give fair trials and confirmations of justices and other appointments. So the American people trust that checks and balances system. If they wanted Democrats to have a hand in this, they would give Democrats the majority. A few things I wanted to say about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So obviously she was a trailblazer in her field. She cannot be replaced. I mean, there is not another Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She immigrated here with her parents, Jewish parents, in 1930s. At 14 months old, her older sister died of meningitis. She was obviously married and raising a family. When she was in law school, she was one of only 9 women in law school at the time. She has just absolutely blazed her own trail. But let's not forget, over the course of her career, she has been an activist judge. So I would like to see someone nominated and fill that spot who not only is conservative, but someone who is a constitutionalist, someone who is a textualist, and someone who truly strives. I want their one goal to be to interpret the Constitution accurately, whether that leans to the left, whether that leans to the right. The most important aspect to me is someone who adheres to the Constitution. So it's going to be very, very contentious in the next few weeks. Like I said, Friday or Saturday, President Trump is going to be announcing who that woman is going to be. So we're all going to be looking forward to that.
Right, thank you, Amanda. And now let's head out to Tudor. Tudor, what are your thoughts on the reactions to the president's plan for a nomination from the left?
Well, I think that it's very important that he choose a woman. I know that we had Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was a pioneer in her field, as we discussed earlier. And it's important for the American people to have another woman on the court. And so that is definitely a good move. Now, the women that he has chosen are very interesting women. He has chosen Barbara Lagoa, and that she and also Judge Amy Coney Barrett. And those are two women that have very strong backgrounds. When you look at Judge Barrett, it's very hard to argue with her background. She has 7 children. She has 2 children that are African American that she adopted from Haiti. She has 1 child with special needs. So her personal background is one that is going to be very hard for Democrats to attack. They have attacked her for her Catholic faith. But now she also came out and said she does not see Roe v. Wade being overturned. Another interesting fact, because that's what we know, there are a lot of Democrats out there that are concerned about that. Now, earlier on our program, we talked to Abby Johnson about that, and we asked her the question, do you think that there are conservatives or pro-life Americans out there who would say, well, if we could get some sort of a compromise on Roe v. Wade, if we went to say, hey, we won't have abortions past 12 weeks, would that satisfy pro-life Americans? And her response was no. She said that now that we know the science that we didn't know during Roe v. Wade, we understand that fetus actually feels. That fetus can feel and have brainwave activity at 8 weeks. And so she says that's not going to go over well. But we do know that these are 2 judges that have strong Catholic faith. The other judge Lagoa, she's also an interesting choice because when she was approved by the Senate to be confirmed to the 11th Circuit bench, that was a vote of 80-15, and Kamala Harris voted for her. So when you look at this, you have Senator Cory Booker, you have Elizabeth Warren, you have Kamala Harris, you have Amy Klobuchar, and you have Bernie Sanders, all who voted for this judge to take that seat. And so these are going to be very hard women for the left to come back and say, well, they're not the right ones, because you've already seen these Democrats voting for them. It also helps him that this would be a Latina judge that would be on the bench. She would come from Florida. That would also help him in Florida. Ultimately, you don't want this to be a political decision, but these are women who have strong backgrounds. These are not women who would be put on the bench just because of their gender. These are women who have a background that is strong enough and also in the past have had the support of Democrats, which is why he would choose them, I believe. Jessica.
You, Tudor. And actually, we're going to toss to that interview that you and Steve did earlier with the anti-abortionist activist, Abby Johnson.
We have Abby Johnson with us. She is an anti-abortion activist. Abby, big news. This is a big deal. What's your take on what's going to happen with the Supreme Court?
Yes, big news. And from what we are hearing from the White House, it sounds like President Trump will be making his nomination by Thursday or Friday of this week. He has said that he will be nominating a woman. He has a short list of about a dozen women that he will be choosing from. From what we understand, Amy Barrett is at the top of that list. So we're feeling confident about the choices that he's made.
So in the past, Amy Barrett has come out and said she doesn't see Roe v. Wade being overturned. Is there something else that you would like to see happen? Is there a way that you would like to see the abortion law changed in some way that would satisfy you?
Well, I think that we will see Roe overturned. I think that we have to bring the right case forward. I believe that Roe v. Wade is entirely unconstitutional. It is antiquated case law. It's based on antiquated science. And so I do believe that we will see Roe and Doe both overturned. But I do believe that we have to bring the right case based on science, based on medical technology. And I do believe that if he appoints a constitutionalist jurist to the Supreme Court, that we will see that happen.
So this is maybe a controversial question, but do you see a point when there could be some sort of a law in place where at 12 weeks, that's the cutoff, and that would be the law for abortion, and that would satisfy both sides? Or do you think that people who are pro-life say, absolutely no, we want no abortion?
I don't think so. I don't think that, I think that there, for some, I think some could say, well, okay, 12 weeks we'll give in there. But I think for most people, for people like me, we are here to say that life begins at the moment of conception, and that the taking of any innocent human life is barbaric, that it is wrong, and that it should not be legal. And so until life is protected, until that moment of conception, then we will continue to fight against any practice that takes that human life.
You spoke at the RNC, and your words were so powerful. I think it was a way that women who have not experienced an abortion were able to connect with it like we haven't ever before. It's something that has been a concept of surgery, but not really that, you even talked about the smell of abortion. You were obviously someone who worked in an abortion clinic very close. When you say it's a barbaric procedure, can you just explain that to our audience a little bit, why you're so adamant that this isn't even at 12 weeks? Because that fetus can feel, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, science has now come out and confirmed that the unborn child can feel pain as early as 12 weeks gestation, and some scientists will say even earlier, even possibly as early as 8 weeks. The unborn children in the womb, they have body parts by 12 weeks, even earlier. We're talking about a child with a beating heart as soon as 18 days post-conception. Brain waves begin functioning at 8 weeks in the womb. So every organ that we sit here with today is fully formed on a child at 12 weeks gestation. So these are human beings. To say they are not human beings is a lie. To say that they are not living human beings is a lie. And abortion violently tears them apart limb by limb in their mother's wombs. It is barbaric. It is unconscionable. And just as we look at other horrendous Holocausts that have taken place in our country and worldwide, historically, one day I pray that we will look at abortion the same way.
You said something earlier about science having changed since, or we know more since Roe v. Wade. So those stats that you just gave us about organs being formed and babies being able to feel at and maybe as early as 12 or 8 weeks, are those things that during that court case they just didn't know?
That's right. We didn't know. We didn't know many things about the unborn. We really didn't know hardly anything at all about the unborn in 1973. Ultrasound technology was really not available in 1973. In fact, Dr. Bernard Nathanson in the mid-'80s was the first one to really widely publicize ultrasound technology to the masses through his documentary called Silent Scream. And that documentary is what led to a mass exodus of doctors who had performed abortions, because that was really the first time that physicians got to see what was taking place to the unborn during abortion procedures. People had not seen the unborn on ultrasounds before. I was born in 1980. My mother never had an ultrasound with me before. This was new technology, even in the early 80s. So in 1973, we didn't know about the unborn. We didn't have DNA. We didn't have ultrasounds. Even, we see sometimes now geneticists, they can look in petri dishes and they can see that when sperm and egg, they call it the spark of life. You can actually see a spark when conception occurs. We didn't have all of that. So now we see that medical technology, science, it all lands on the side of life.
Oh, that is so powerful. Really quick, we have so many black activists who are now coming out and saying Planned Parenthood puts 80% of their clinics into black communities. Is that something that we are going to hear people come out and fight against quite severely in the next month?
I certainly hope so. I mean, this should be a wake-up call for everyone who is fighting against racism. I mean, Planned Parenthood was founded on the principle of eugenics, on the principle of racism. And currently it is the building block of their business model. You know, they put 80% of their facilities inside of minority, what they call super minority neighborhoods, where at least 80% of the population is minority and primarily African American. So we need to see these African American leaders calling out Planned Parenthood. And when you look at the organization Black Lives Matter, there you see one of their core tenets is to support reproductive rights, which is abortion. And you can't have it both ways. So, you know, there needs to be more African-American leaders, minority leaders calling out the Black Lives Matter organization, calling out Planned Parenthood, or else, unfortunately, we are going to see the eradication of the African-American population through abortion.
Yeah, it's shocking. Who would think that we would be here after all of these years, that we would come to a Supreme Court decision that is still fighting for Black lives and the freedom of Black lives? But here we are. Abby Johnson, anti-abortion activist, thank you so much for being on today. We really appreciate it.
All right, now we're going to head back out to Maggie in Swanton, Ohio. Maggie, what are your thoughts on the reactions that the left has had, that's Biden, Pelosi, and AOC, in regards to President Trump's plan for a nomination this week?
I have some mixed feelings about Ginsburg, obviously with her passing. You know, she's been sick for a long time. I don't think anyone was too surprised to hear that she had passed. But, you know, what was surprising, I guess, was to see the overwhelming support for Justice Ginsburg from both the left and the right, and people coming out and just the overwhelming celebration of her life. Personally, you know, I think it's sad whenever anyone passes. But with Justice Ginsburg, I think we also need to keep in mind and remember that, yes, there were so many great things that she accomplished, but we should not be making this woman into a deity. We should not be elevating her to a status of treating her like a martyr the way that the left always wants to. At the end of the day, you know, she had an incredible life, but I don't agree with many of her policies, and the time, you know, it's time for President Trump to choose somebody new. So I say that the Republicans should be choosing a new justice very quickly and should get that passed, you know, right away, because I just think it's what President Trump needs to do. It's almost hard to think about something as serious as this issue when I'm out at this event and it is just so pumped up. So forgive me for being a little distracted. I've spoken to a few people today who agree on this issue, that President Trump needs to choose someone very quickly, and that the Senate needs to, you know, go ahead and confirm. All right, back to you.
Well, thank you so much, Maggie. We'll get back to you and David in just a little bit. Ohio has a history of steelmaking due to its rich supply of coal and iron. While in Ohio today, David talked to two steel workers and why they support the president.
Trump rally here in Toledo, Ohio. We're about an hour south of Detroit. You know, Toledo is like 200 miles away from like every major city out here. Cincinnati, Cleveland, Dayton, you know, Detroit. So it's a busy area, and it's the 5th largest port on the Great Lakes, and there's manufacturing here. But this Trump rally has thousands of people as far as the eye can see, which is really exciting. And we have two friends here. We have Rick and Paul. How you doing, Rick?
I'm doing great today.
How are you, Paul?
Fantastic. Thanks for asking.
Great. So we were talking earlier, and you guys are in the manufacturing end. You're in welding, right? And you have companies here like Jeep. You have Souter Woodworking that makes a lot of the kits you see for office furniture, right? What other industries you have here?
Well, we have a lot of manufacturing. There's steel in Delta, the Jeep plant, manufacturing, assembly. There's steel all over, really.
So That's an F-16 from the 180th Fighter Wing in the Air National Guard here at the airport in Toledo, and they've been screaming over at like 5 Gs all day. It's very exciting. So, Rick, have you seen a difference in the Trump economy here over the last couple of years?
Yes, it's 5 times better than it's ever been. I've never seen the economy this big and good, and I've been born in '62, and it's never been this good.
Well, the economy in Toledo's taken a hit over the years, back and forth with the auto industry, right? The steel industry, but you've got Cleveland Cliffs back here, and they're going to process iron ore, I believe. So give me a message for the president today. What do you want to see him talk about?
Well, keep your promises. You've been doing great at delivering what you promised. Keep back in the blue. Keep our military strong, and keep working on the economy. Even at the worst of the coronavirus, our economy was still better than it was the previous 8 years.
Yeah, that's true. So what was your message about Biden signs? I haven't seen a Biden sign anywhere in like a year.
Well, yeah, I think we should take the Biden signs and put them in the cemetery, because they'll vote for them faster than we.
Dead people are voting. All right, this is Dave Zier with America's Voice. Thanks for joining us.
Now, David, I want to ask you, from that interview that you did earlier, you spoke to those steelworkers, and it seems like they are Trump supporters. But how does Biden expect to win over these Ohio steelworkers and coal miners when he has said for years that he plans on putting them out of business?
In Toledo is 5 times better than it was before Trump, and that he's bringing back premium grade steel, and that he's bringing back some auto worker jobs, and they're very strong in healthcare. Toledo's been back and forth and through the mill many times over the decades, and they've really suffered here. But Trump's ahead in the polls 5 times, and he's increasing with suburban voters like these guys. And one guy was a machinist, the other's a welder. So that's the crux of the Trump attendees at all these rallies. And that's the real story here, that they're real Americans. And we're going to go back to Jessica.
All right, thank you, David. And if we can go back to Tudor. Tudor, so I don't know if you were able to hear that interview that David had with those 2 steel workers, but I'm going to ask you the same question. Ohio is big in steel making. They still have coal mines. The business is large there. It's not as big as it once was in its history, but it is there, and there are still workers. How do you think that Biden would be able to win over these steel workers and these, middle class workers when he has said for years, and he's not been shy about it, he's publicly stated it many times, that he plans on putting coal miners and workers like this out of business? And he's, with the Obama and Biden administration, they really did do a dent in the industry.
Historically, the steelworkers have supported Democrats. Historically, the unions have supported Democrats. And union leaders are working very hard, especially in Ohio. You have the United Steelworkers, who are actually going to be shining a light on buildings that's like a bat light, asking people to remember to go vote. And they're asking people to vote for Joe Biden. So union leaders are out there every day, and they're going to push really hard to have their people go out there and vote for Joe Biden. This is something historically that has happened. Now, the president will be fighting back against this, but he'll come back to this state and they'll ask him to answer for Lordstown and the closing of that plant that he came 4 years ago, and he said that won't close. There are a lot of Ohioans that won't forget that. So he does have he's going to have mixed emotions when it comes to steel workers and manufacturing in general. There have been a lot of manufacturing jobs that have been saved. More factories closed under President Obama than any other president, and Joe Biden will have to speak to that if he comes out and talks to the American public. But that will be a challenge to get him to do that. So the president will be out there with the people of Ohio, and he will be having to answer those questions. It is going to be very interesting to see what the unions push and how far they can, because remember, Jessica, just last week we talked to folks in Michigan who were going out for the Kid Rock Don Jr. event, and they were talking then about the fact that many union members in Michigan that are a part of the automakers, they are going to vote for President Trump.
And Tudor, I want to ask you, because I'm pretty sure our viewers have the question, I have the question. So we're talking about the unions, and yes, historically, unions have always been Democrat. I think of the JFK Democrats were huge union backers. But this is the thing. With the Biden and with the Obama and Biden administration, they did what they did for their 8 years. And they didn't help these places. They didn't help Minnesota. They didn't help places like Ohio or those workers. What is it going to take for these old school Democrats to transition over to say, you know what, it's not about Democrat or Republican, it's about who is really on our side? Because it baffles me that these unions can still have their workers push for the Democrat candidate when they're shooting themselves in the foot.
It's interesting. It's probably some of the older guys who are starting to realize, because they lived through those 8 years. They saw the regulations that President Obama put in on these businesses that harmed their businesses. Many people saw businesses suffer or even go out of businesses. So many people lost their jobs under President Obama. A lot of people get confused. A lot of people get confused by those regulations. They believe that they were helpful, but they weren't, Jessica.
And thank you, Tudor. We appreciate your response on that. Now we're going to head out to Swanson, Ohio, where Amanda Head is there. Amanda, we hear that Air Force One has landed.
It has. It landed just a few moments ago. They did something different tonight than what they usually do. They had the communications for air traffic control over the loudspeakers, so everyone got to hear the communication between the flight tower and the pilot of Air Force One. So that was fun for everyone to see, and of course everyone went crazy. So President Trump ostensibly will be stepping down just a few moments. Secret Security, of course, is doing their last checks on the tarmac before he walks over. I'll tell you what, it is a big bird. This is the first time that I have seen it this close, and I think we have a spectacular spot on the platform. For those of you who have never been to a Trump rally, you've got these media platforms kind of stair-stepped where everybody's lined up with their cameras, and we have a prime spot right in the middle this time. So I think it means that we must be doing some pretty darn good coverage of these Trump rallies.
That's right, Amanda. I've been to a Trump rally here in Colorado Springs, Colorado, but my view was nothing like yours. That is an awesome view that not very many people are going to be able to experience. But Amanda, I wanted to ask you the same question that I asked Tudor. Tudor was talking about how the unions, Ohio is a very middle class. They have a huge population of steel workers. And she was saying that the way Biden is going to get a leg up there is because those unions are still trapped in that old idea that they are going to push their workers to vote Democrat, like the old school Democrats of the Kennedys. And so my question to you is, how can these unions continue to do that to their workers when they know what the Obama and Biden administration did for 8 years, which is pretty much nothing for them? If anything, lots of people had to, I think Ohio lost quite a few in their population because people had to move out. They couldn't afford to live there anymore to go to other states to get employment. How can they continue to ask their workers to do this when it's not good for them?
Yeah, unions have had a grip on these particular states and these particular industries for a very, very long time, basically going back to the 20s, 30s, and 40s mob days of Chicago and New York. You have workers, especially in the automobile industry, but like you said, different forms of construction and labor, where you've had these union bosses who, by the way, 50 years ago were also mob bosses, or they were very, tight relationships. So a lot of these unions have actually kind of adopted those mobster-type tactics. Not necessarily beating people over the head and threatening danger to them or their families, but this notion that you can't be a part of this club. You're not going to get the same benefits as everyone else if you don't join our union. And by the way, you have to vote for the candidate who we endorse. And we know that for a very, very long time, Democrats have been supported by unions. But I think that we are in a moment right now in America, and this is pretty much across the board, where people are finally starting to step out of their comfort zone. This was something that David Zier talked to people about today, and I mentioned this earlier. People here, they are surrounded surrounded by like-minded people. And, 10, 15 years ago, what political side of the aisle you were on, we could all hang out and be friends and God forbid, agree to disagree. But things aren't like that anymore. So people are stepping out of their comfort zones and they're finally starting to speak out. And I don't think that is excluded from unions either. I think that union members, even though they are supported and they are boosted by their unions and their unions supposedly fight for them, I think that they feel like at this point in time, when their union bosses are telling them to vote a certain way, they have to do what they feel like is going to put food on the table, what they feel like is going to preserve their First Amendment right, their Second Amendment right, the things that they hold dear. A lot of these people are God-fearing Christians, so freedom of religion is something that's very important to them. In Ohio, you have a lot of churches that were very reticent to reopen. Of course, in my state of California, very few churches have reopened because Governor Newsom has told them that they cannot reopen. So I'm excited because I think that I know for a fact that there are a lot of union members here, and I think it's something telling of the time that we are in American history and American political history, that people are willing to step away from that club on the, that boot on the neck type of mentality that they are used to getting from their union bosses.
Thank you, Amanda. We'll come back to you as soon as we see the president step off of Air Force One, but we're going to head over to Tudor. And Tudor, I wanted to go back to the possible nomination, Supreme Court nomination that President Trump plans this week. He says no later than Saturday. My question to you is, I was looking into this and I was trying to figure out, what a lot of the left was saying and what the right were saying, because people were, mixed messages to each side. Each side is going to say something, and later on in the years when they've said it, it's going to come back to bite them. And it's happened on both sides with Mitch McConnell, Pelosi, with Ginsburg herself. My question is, we all know that the presidency has a lot of duties, but one of his main duties is to appoint federal judges. Obviously, the Supreme Court is the highest court in the land. So if the president was to just decide not to just put it off because he doesn't know what the outcome of the election is going to be, he is still in power until noon on Inauguration Day, from what I recall. And so wouldn't that be a derelict of duties if that was something that he decided to just kind of sit on at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have Joe Biden coming out and saying that this would be an abuse of power, which is absolutely ridiculous. When we look at past precedent, there has never, ever been a president in power who has had the opportunity to nominate a Supreme Court justice who has chosen not to go through with that nomination. Every president in the past history has done it from the beginning of the United States of America. And so this is not something that he would just forego doing. And this is just another manipulation that we've seen from the left, where we have them on a regular basis coming out and telling us how things work, and it's just simply not accurate. And so the president very much, he does not have to, I mean, the Senate doesn't have to confirm the nomination that he puts up, but he will absolutely nominate, and he would be remiss not to. I mean, he would simply not be doing his job, exactly what you said. And so, of course, this president is going to nominate. Now, it's up to the Senate. In the past, when this has happened in an election year and the president has nominated, if the Senate is the same party as the president, generally the nomination passes. If it's not, generally the nomination does not pass. They'll decide whether or not they even want to vote on a nomination, Jessica.
And Tudor, I know exactly what you're saying, but a lot of the argument is that there could possibly be a lame duck presidency. But like you're saying, he would really be amiss if he really didn't, and I think it would be a dereliction of his duties. And we're going to head out to Swanton, Ohio, where I believe the president is stepping off of Air Force One. If we can go to that.
We've done more than any administration in its first 3.5 years in the history of our country. America is winning again like never before, and America is respected again, respected at the highest level. We've created 6.7 million new jobs. Unemployment recently reached the lowest rate in over 50 years. Think of that, half a century. From now, can you believe it? 42 days. We're going to again win Ohio. I understand from Bob Paduchek. You know Bob? That we're going to win it by more than we did. What did we win it? 9. We won by 9 points. I just came into that big, beautiful plane. It's got more televisions than any plane in history. They've got televisions in closets, in bathrooms, on the floor, on the ceilings. And I just saw that we're tied in Ohio. I don't think so. They say President Trump may have a slim lead in Ohio. They're not even campaigning in Ohio, come to think. No, they're fake polls. They're almost as fake as the writers themselves. They're all fake. Remember last time they said, no, he's going to lose Ohio. We won by 9 points. So we had 7 swing states last time.
President Trump is going to go home early, but it wasn't president at that time. It was just Donald Trump. He will go home early, and we did. We went home early as victors. But we had 9 states. They had one of the crazy papers, New York Times. You know, they hired that guy. They paid him millions because he never
predicted wrong.
He was wrong. And I don't know if they had a contract where they could fire him, but they hired this guy. We had 9 states. I was down in all of them on the day of the election. I was going to lose all 9, and I guess what? I won every one of them. Fake polls. They're fake polls. And then we have a crowd like this. I don't know. Look, you know the cameras. Are you turning around? These guys are bad people. I swear. They never turn the cameras around ever. Turn them around. Turn them around. They never turn. Look at them. They're just like a bunch of stiffs. Real stiffs. Why don't you turn the cameras around for once? You know, you look back there. You can't see it. There's got to be. Feels like Madison Square Garden on the ground, except we have more people. Ah, boy. It's always tough. You know, we go through this all the time. We're always asking them. Look at these crowds. I mean, as far you can't see it. You have this prime territory. Like you should be in the real estate business. No, as far as the eye can see back there, the cameras don't get it. You only hear it from the sound. I go home, I say to the First Lady, did you see that crowd we had tonight in Ohio? And she goes, no. They just keep it on your face. That includes Fox. They just keep it here, right here. They don't want to show. You know what they don't know? And
people deserve a fully staffed court of 9.
The president nominates, and then the Senate advises and consents or not. But they go.
Give up on it. You know what you do? You hear it. Because you can't have, you know, when Sleepy Joe Biden, he's got the circles. You know those big circles? And you know why he has the circles? He's got 4 of them. Because they can't, I mean, think of it. He is a guy who's failed every time he ran. We called him 1% Joe. and now he's shot, and he got their nomination. How the hell does that work out? How does that work out? But he's got the circles. He got like 4. Sometimes he has 6. Because that's a good way of saying if you don't have any people, just put them in the circle, and he's practicing the science. No, it doesn't work out, but we're going to win 4 more years in the White House. We're doing things that nobody's ever done before. We're doing what nobody's ever done, and thank you for being here. You know, I wish we could move the press back further, if you want to know the truth. As our nation mourns the loss of Supreme Court Justice, everybody. Thank you. So as our nation mourns the loss of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I will soon announce a nominee for the United States Supreme Court. They say it's the most important thing a president can do. I don't know. I think military, maybe. You know, we rebuilt your military, $2.5 trillion. Great. We will fill that seat. It's going to go quickly. Probably announce the person. I don't want to make the men too angry. It will be a woman. Is that okay? I don't want to have a problem with men. They'll say Trump is doing very poorly with men. You know, you listen. How's he doing? Well, he's doing very poorly with men, with women. He's doing very poorly with the black community, the Hispanic community. And then you have the election night, doing very poorly with those with diploma, without diploma, college, PhDs. What's he doing well? Oh, no, it's going to be a very short night. Then they say Donald Trump is the projected winner by a lot. And they say, well, what happened is he did very well with women, did very well with men, diplomas. He did well with African-American community. By the way, we are doing really well with the African-American community, with the Hispanic community. We're doing well with women. We're doing very well. We're doing well with suburbia. You know, I ended a regulation that will destroy suburbia. If Biden got in, they will destroy the suburbia. We call it suburbia of the world, and we love it. I know it well. Westchester County, the suburban. They sometimes, if you say suburban housewife, you're in deep trouble. So what you do is you say suburban women. They love me. You know why? They want security, and they don't want projects. That's okay. They don't want it. And by the way, that includes minorities, because 29 to 30% of the suburban communities are minorities, and that includes them. They don't want that. They want safe communities. They want great communities. They don't want to lose the American dream. It's very simple. I got rid of the regulation from Obama, Biden, that was destroying suburbia, okay? Destroying it. And I think suburbia has got to wake up, because if they get in, you know who's in charge? You know who's in charge of the program? Cory Booker. So I think the suburban women and suburban men and husbands and wives and everybody, you better get smart, because you're not going to have your dream very much longer if they get in. If I get in, you've got it. You've also got your Second Amendment if I get it. In 2018, we expanded the Senate majority. Remember, they said, first of all, I wasn't running. It makes a difference. Wait till you see what happens. We're going to take back the House. We're going to get rid of this crazy Nancy Pelosi. Kevin McCarthy's done a great job. We're going to take back the House. People are so tired of her. People are so tired. Did you hear today the latest? So they impeached me for a perfect phone call. Perfect. It was a perfect phone call. Now they want to impeach me again if I nominate somebody, as I'm constitutionally obligated to do, to serve on the Supreme Court of the United States. Go ahead and I want them to do that. I want them to do that. We will. We will. We will. If he puts forth a highly qualified candidate, we will impeach him. Well, I said, well, I'm the only guy in the world that could get impeached for trying to fill a seat in the Supreme Court. So we're going to put up our nominee who's going to be. We're looking at 5 incredible jurists, 5 incredible people, women that are extraordinary in every way. I mean, honestly, it could be any one of them. We're going to be announcing it on Friday or Saturday. And again, they say it's the most important thing. And think of it. So in a single term, by the end of our term, we will have nominated and had confirmed, I think it'll end up being over 300 federal judges and hopefully 3 Supreme Court justices. Think of that. 3. You know, some presidents, they never get any. They last a long time. A lot of presidents get none. We've had 3. It's blowing their minds. It's blowing their minds. But for the people of Ohio, this is what you want. So it looks like we're going to have 3, and it's going to be very exciting. It's exciting even for me. I'm going to look forward to it. Probably Saturday we will announce the nominee, and it's somebody that you're going to have great respect for. Great respect. Thank you. Thank you. Big stuff. That's a big thing. You know, they set the course of our country for many years to come. Whether it's on life or the Second Amendment or so many other things, they set the whole course of the country. A very important position, the most important. Joe Biden has refused to list the names of his potential justices because he knows they're too extreme to withstand any form of public review. If Joe Biden and the Democrats take power, they will pack the Supreme Court with far-left radicals who will unilaterally transform American society far beyond recognition. They will mutilate the law, disfigure the Constitution, and impose a socialist vision from the bench that could never pass at the ballot box. So they don't want to show the judges because the only ones that he can put in are far left radicals. And if he does something even toward left of center, which would be acceptable, I guess, we have no choice. If he did that, he would lose the left. So he's going to have to put in radicals. So he doesn't want to show who his judges are. I've shown all a list. I have a double list, about 45, from which I will only pick. But he doesn't want to do that because if you found out who he was going to pick, he would be unelectable. Hopefully he's going to be unelectable anyway. We're going to find out. So he wouldn't be able to survive a Joe Biden. You wouldn't be able to survive. You know, we've been calling it socialism. I don't think it's socialism. I think it's a step beyond what they're talking about. You look at Portland, you look at Chicago, you look at New York, you look at Baltimore and Oakland. And these are Democrat-run cities that are horrible on crime. There's no law and order, no cash bail, no anything. And you know what? The Republican cities are running great. They're running great. And so we're going to get it all changed around. We went into Minneapolis. We solved the problem like you wouldn't believe. What did it take? You saw it. What did that take? I would say probably 30 minutes, right? They should have called us in about 7 days earlier. How about the reporter? He gets up there. Behind him is a burning city. I never saw anything like it. And he's saying, there are really no protests here. This is very friendly. And we call this a friendly protest because you're not supposed to have political rallies. You're not supposed to have anything. The only thing you can have is thousands of people running down a street, burning stores, looting, doing what. That's okay because that's protesting. But we'll call this a friendly protest. But your children will be robbed of their future and the damage will endure for generations to come. We have to win. This is the most important election in the history of our country, in my opinion. And a lot of that's got to do with the fact that, you know, we're going to have one extra, but we didn't think this was going to happen. But I used to say just a week ago, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe even 5 the next president. And the Supreme Court is going to be a tremendous factor. A lot of people said that's the reason I won so easily in the Electoral College last time. 306 to 223. He will not get to 270, remember? He will not get to 270. This will be a short evening for Donald Trump. Oh, good riddance. Thank God we got rid of all. This is going to be good. And then a problem happened. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump has won the state of Ohio. Remember the one she was crying? She was crying. Donald Trump has won Ohio, but it wasn't winning Ohio. It was by the margin. Where the hell, he said, where did this margin come from? They opened the polls and they closed the polls. Normally you have to wait hours, unless it's a total runaway. And they said, the polls and the doors are closed. In Ohio, Donald Trump has won. And they go, oh my God. But wait a minute, he won by 9 points. What the hell's going on over here? Then they said, Donald Trump has won the state of Florida. Donald Trump has won the state of Georgia. Donald Trump has won North Carolina, South Carolina. All right, remember that? Was that the most exciting evening, really? Remember? Donald Trump, it's you. It's all of us. It's not that. They use the name Donald Trump. It's all of us have won, because it's just going to be. And this one's going to be even better, because nobody has done, and they don't even challenge it, the fake news. Nobody has done in 3.5 years what we've done. We've rebuilt our military, $2.5 trillion. We've taken care of our vets. We have choice. We have accountability. We can fire people now when they don't treat our vets right. We couldn't do that before. They could treat our vets terribly. We have accountability. Nobody has done what we've done for our vets. 91% approval rating at the VA. 91%. The highest ever. So nobody's done, and that's why I think this is going to be the most important of all. I used to say, well, I don't know, how does it compare to 2016? I just gave that up. This is the most important election. You know why? 2 reasons. Number one, that's over with. The hell with it. It's the hell with it. But the truth is, this is really going to be, that's got a seat, it's got a seat in, and we have a lot of new things, including additional substantial middle-income tax cuts and other tax cuts, and tremendous regulation cuts. And we're finishing up with our military. You know, we're building Space Force. The wall is going incredibly. It's going incredibly. Remember the wall. They don't talk about the wall anymore, the fake news. You know, once we started building it, and you think that was easy to build the wall? We had an entire...
Brett Favre, legendary quarterback. Jerry Rice, legendary wide receiver.
You ready for your weekly meeting?
Yeah, we're ready.
Let's do this. Let's stack the deck.
When legends play, they wear Copperfit Advanced Back Pro. Copperfit's best-selling compression back support just got better. With
the network's going to cover the rallies, and they do a great job of it.
And it's exactly the wall, the little more expensive wall. They want like nice, expensive, but exactly what Border Patrol wanted. We're building them the exact wall that they want. We can't give them any excuses. We can't give them any excuses. But you know, it's true. They used to talk about the wall all the time because they never thought I'd be able to get it built, right? Once I got it going, got it built, I got the financing. We won a lot of lawsuits, by the way. We won a lot of lawsuits. They sued us. Pelosi was suing us. Congress was suing us. Senate was suing us. We won a lot of lawsuits. Once it was obvious that we won and we started building, they never talk about the wall anymore. And I made a terrible, terrible mistake because I had to work my ass off to get that thing built. You have no idea. You have have no idea. You have no idea. But I should have said the mistake. I should have said when I talk to these big crowds, and the crowds are getting bigger, there's more enthusiasm now than we ever had 4 years ago. But I should have said, instead of we will build a wall, instead of we will build a wall, I kept it, we will build a wall. Place would go crazy. I should have said, we will not build the wall. Under no circumstances will we build a wall. The Democrats would have given us all the money we want. It's true. It's true. And then they would have said, see, he didn't keep his campaign promise. These people are sick. The Biden-nominated justices will shred our Second Amendment, eliminate the right to self-defense, and allow the government to confiscate your privately owned firearms. You know that. Put in other language, they will end your Second Amendment, okay? And they will do that. By the way, if I wasn't here, you wouldn't have a Second Amendment right now. That would be gone. You know, I hate to say it, I'm the only thing standing between you and chaos. I'm telling you, and Second Amendments and all of the other things. Biden's justices will remove the words "under God" from the Pledge of Allegiance. Did you see that? Did you see it? They said, no, we never removed. And I saw it. They're doing the Pledge of Allegiance. And I said, oh, there must be a typo. They left the words "under God" out of the Pledge of Allegiance, the Democrats. And I said, oh, there's a typo. Typo, they made a mistake. What a stupid mistake. Can you believe it? That guy's in big trouble. What a stupid mistake. And then I heard it a second time. They did the same mistake. I said, well, that's what they're doing. They're going to take God out of everything, just like they want to knock down the statue of George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson. And it's never happening. And it's never happening. You know, a lot of these Democrat states, you see it, the churches are closed. They don't want our churches to open. You can have a riot where you kill people in the streets, 25,000 people, don't have to wear masks, nothing. They can march down the streets, step on each other's face. They can do whatever the hell they want. That's okay. But you can't go to church. They have ideas, they have plans, and it's never happening with me as your president, that I can tell you. You see it. They want to tear down crosses from public spaces. You see it. You know, since I signed a little law, you know, they were ripping down a lot of statues about 4 months ago, right? And I said, do we have any laws like old laws when they were strong, when we were smart, when we were tough? Sir, we have one. Sir. A general came in. What's the law, General? Sir, there was a law from quite a while ago, 10 years in prison. They didn't use the word jail, prison. Prison's a tougher word. I said, what do you mean 10 years? You got 10 years in prison if you knock down a statue or if you knock down a monument. I said, General, let me see that sucker, please. Bring that to my office. And we revived it because you can't get that approved by Congress. They would never do. Today in Congress, you do it, they'll give you half a day in a hotel someplace. So 10 years. So they were having a big march on Washington in 2 days. And I signed this new law. We updated it. And it was 10 years. You get 10 years in prison. You knock down a monument. And there's no games. This is
50% of the likely voters to Trump's 44%. That's roughly the equivalent to the 5-point Biden lead held a week ago. The Rasmussen.
So they were going to come in. They were actually looking to knock down the statue of a man named Thomas Jefferson. That's not too good. Okay? They had obliterated a lot of different things. And so I had a news conference. I announced that I'm signing a law that anybody that knocks down a monument or a statue gets 10 years in jail. And the police in Washington, and we had National Guard, we had Secret Service. We were all ready for them. We were ready for them. And the time came, there was only a problem. Nobody showed up. You know why? 10 years was too much. 10 years was too much. It's amazing the way. Isn't it amazing the way it all works? So instead, they burned down Portland. I speak to the governor. I speak to the mayor. Is hopeless. He's a hopeless, poor guy. They chased him out of his apartment. And he still thinks they're wonderful people. They're burning down his city. But I want to go in there with the National Guard so bad it would take us 15 minutes to solve the problem. When they heard in Seattle that we were going in, the next day, the guys just walked away. They left. That was the end of it. We had nothing to do. But they want to ban all prayer in public schools and require taxpayers to fund extreme late-term abortion. Biden's justices will erase national borders. They don't want borders. Protect sanctuary cities and compel the unlimited entry of foreign nationals. And if you look at some of these jihadist nations, no thank you. Somebody said, that's not nice. That's not politically correct. I said, that's okay. They'll cripple the police departments, free violent criminals, shield foreign terrorists, and declare the death penalty unconstitutional, even for the most depraved mass murderers who kill women and children. That's what they want. They don't want any death penalty, not for the Boston bomber, not for anybody. You see, the Boston bomber, they're still trying this guy, what he did to so many lives. He killed people, ruined so many families, ruined so many lives. And by the way, they want the Boston bomber to be able to vote. You know that. In 3.5 years under my administration, we've secured America's borders, rebuilt the awesome power of the United States military, obliterated the ISIS caliphate 100%, fixed our disastrous trade deals, and brought jobs and factories back to the great state of Ohio. I love Ohio. I love Ohio. I don't know what it is. I was told by Bob and some of the congressmen that are here, we have some great ones, I'm going to introduce them in a second, but I was told that they're not even trying for Ohio. You know why? Because I love you and you love me, and that's the way it is. That's the way it is. Thank you. I love you too. You know, it's very interesting. So, somebody in the fake news media did a story yesterday because this crazy chant is going on. They have two about the seat and, all that. But there was another chant that's happening at all these rallies. We're having massive rallies. We're in Minnesota. We had a tremendous crowd. Wisconsin, tremendous. Pennsylvania, every one of them. I mean, in all fairness, like this. Everyone. But this rant is going on like it's crazy. And it's, we love you, we love you, we love. And you know what? I don't want to say it. I'm just saying they have not been able to find in the history of politics in this nation, even we loved Ronald Reagan, but they have not been able to find where people broke out and said, we love you about, I guess I have to call myself a politician. I don't feel like a politician. No, but think of it. No, how nice is that? I never heard it. I've been to a lot of different speeches and rallies. I've never heard crowds go, we love you. But you know why? We love you. I love you. But you know why? Because, again, nobody has done what we've done. Ohio had the best year in its history last year. We had a great year. And next year, assuming we win, which I hope we're going to win, but if we win, you're going to have a year next year. First of all, take a look at the third quarter. It's going to be announced, the numbers, just before the election. It'll come out 3 days before the election. And I'll tell you what, I'll bet on the numbers. Even though Crazy Nancy and these people don't want to give any stimulus, they don't want to give anything. They want to keep a lot of states closed wherever they can. You know what they're going to do? They're going to announce they're going to be opening on November 4th. They'll be open. All these closed states, they're going to be open on November 4th. One of them blew it, a teachers union. Did you see it? No, we don't want to open now. We don't want to open the pandemic. We don't want, we're rounding the turn of the pandemic. Vaccines are coming soon. But we don't want to open around November 4th. We're going to open. This person that's in charge of a union said that. That was not good. I think they'll get rid of her quickly. I'm also proud that we have successfully brought back the Big Ten and the Ohio State Buckeye. have a good year after all of that. You have a good team, right? Good coach, good team, good everything. You have a good team. You always have a good team. But, you know, there was a case I was sort of told, what do I know? I said, how's it going? Everything good? I was talking. They said, sir, Sleepy Joe Biden did an ad that you close football. I said, what do you mean I close? I didn't close. The guy did an ad. It's called disinformation. It's called the opposite of what the fact is. Not only didn't I close it, I didn't think about it too much, okay? The states should all be open. But I heard about Big Ten football. And because of this ad, I said, hey, wait a minute, I have an idea. It was a fake ad, just like the ad on the grave sites. And that allows me to say that this man is a gross incompetent. He has no idea. Because now, see, I would never talk like that. But when I saw that horrible thing, and nobody's done more for the military than I have, when I saw that horrible ad, an anonymous source has said that Donald Trump said this. I have 28 people now that have come forward saying it's a total lie. They don't care. So they did an ad. Once they did that, I said, well, now the gloves are off. Let's face it. Joe Biden is incompetent. He always was, even in prime time. He was incompetent in prime time. And now he's really incompetent. But because of the ad, I said, you know, it's very interesting, that ad. It's very interesting. Let me call up the commission. I called up the commissioner, a very good guy. And I said, Commissioner, what can we do to get Big Ten football back? Well, I don't know. So we started. And we started a little thing, the commissioner, myself, one of my guys, he's fantastic. And within a few days, it started getting talked about, and then we kept it going, and we helped them with some testing, because we have the greatest testing in the world. We get no credit for it. We've tested almost 100 million people. India is second with 38. And they have 1.5 billion people, slightly more than you. But I will tell you, so all of a sudden they have schools. Then it looked like it was going to open without Michigan and without a couple of states. And then all of a sudden the pressure became so great, and the full league is opening now, and it's going to be very exciting. And I will tell you, it's not a question of taking credit, but truly, we were the ones that did that. I mean, it was. You know, I'll tell you when I do it and when I don't. But it was closed. It was gone. It was announced that it was closed. And what really spurred me on was when Sleepy Joe announced that I was the one that did it. I said, I didn't even know it was closed. But once I found out it was, I called the commissioner. He was really good, I tell you. And we called a couple of the top people at the universities, and they got it going. It looked like we had 7 schools, 8 schools. All of a sudden, everybody fell into line. I think they're all open now. Every one of them is participating. So I want to thank the commissioner. I want to thank all of those schools. May the best team win. In other words, Ohio State. That's some good tape. You know who the best proponents were? The players, and especially the parents of the players. You know, these kids have a short window to get into the NFL, to create some excitement and how good they are. And you have a lot of potential players, but they couldn't play football. And they said, we're safer on the field than we are staying at home. And they meant it. And we did something, and I'm happy about it. So enjoy the football. Enjoy it. Under 16 years of presidents Obama and Bush, median household income rose only $2,945. So remember that. That's 16 years, 2009. So let's say 3,000. Under 3 years of President Trump, it rose almost $7,000. Okay, so think of that. 16 years, 3 years, achieving the highest median income in the history of our country. In my first 3 years, we lifted 6.6 million people out of poverty, the largest poverty reduction of any president in the history of our country. We built the greatest economy in the history of the world, and we are doing it again. We're building it again. You know, I see those signs, Make America Great, Make America Great Again. So I say this, it's called now, Make America Great Again. Because we did it, and then we had to close it up. We saved millions of lives. If we didn't do that, you would have had 3 million people. It would have been terrible. It would have been just terrible. It's terrible anyway. They shouldn't have allowed it to happen, China. To defeat the China virus, we launched the largest mobilization since World War II. Through pioneering therapies, we reduced the fatality rate 85% since April. Think of that. That's remdesivir and all of the things, the plasma. all different things. And wait till you see what's coming out. Europe is almost 30% greater excess mortality rate than the United States. And that's before today's big breakout. You know, they had a big breakout in Europe. And they keep saying in the fake news, they keep saying about, oh, Europe, Europe, Europe. Well, we're doing better than Europe. And I hate to see what happened. And it had a big impact on the market today because it was a bad thing. But they had a big hit, and they'll take care of it. They know how to do it. They'll take care of it. And we're working very closely with Europe and other countries, including on the vaccine. We have 3 vaccines right now that are right there. They're right at the starting gate, and they're going to be fantastic. So it's great. And with Biden, if you had that regime, you'd be 3 years away because it would have never gotten out of the FDA. What we've done in a very safe manner is amazing. Now, remember this. Biden was in charge of the swine flu, right? It's called the H1N1. Remember, he calls it the N1H1. I said, no. H comes before the N. It's so easy. But he goes, the N1H1, we say no. But it's the swine flu. Maybe we just call it the swine flu. He did such a gross, horrible job on that. And his own man who was in charge of it said they didn't have a clue. They didn't know what they were doing. It was a much less lethal disease. And they lost many, many people. Many, many people. It was. And now I got this guy standing up. Well, we're giving him advice. His own guy that ran it, did everybody see this? Is saying they didn't have a clue what they were doing. It was so bad. I don't know why the hell he said it, to be honest with you. Who would say that? Maybe because he was honest. Does that make sense? And now Biden gets up and he's saying to do the same things as we've already done. He basically took our plan and he said, this is what you should do. But we've among the lowest case fatality rates of any major country in the world and the fastest economic recovery by far of any Western nation by far. Our bold and early action saved millions of lives, and our decisive economic response saved tens of millions of jobs, including 1.9 million jobs in the state of Ohio. You know that. He knows. He's got one of them. He's got one of them. Through Operation Warp Speed, we're developing these great vaccines, and that's going to be literally, these will be done in record time, like nobody's ever done it before. On November 3rd, Ohio will decide whether we end the pandemic and return to record prosperity, or whether we allow sleepy Joe Biden and his group of incompetents to delay the vaccine, shut down the country. He actually suggested that he would shut down the country. We now know the disease. We didn't know it. Now we know it. It affects elderly people with heart problems and other problems. If they have other problems, that's what it really affects. That's it. You know, in some states, thousands of people, nobody young, below the age of 18, like nobody. They have a strong immune system. Who knows? You take your hat off to the young because they have a hell of an immune system. But it affects virtually nobody. It's an amazing thing. By the way, open your schools. Everybody open your school. Sleepy Joe Biden wants to impose a $4 trillion tax hike, ban American energy, give free health care to illegal aliens. How about that one? And you know the bad part about that? Look, we all have heart. We want to take care of people. Problem with that is everybody's going to come to the United States. People that weren't even thinking about it, they're going to say, oh, man, these idiots are given free health care, free college education. They're given free everything. They're giving a Rolls Royce to every family that enters through the southern border. Remember I said that jokingly, and CNN said, he misrepresented. They are not getting a Rolls Royce. I agree. No, they're sick. They are sick people. And indoctrinate your children with poisonous anti-American lies. They're doing that. We're stopping it. To combat the toxic left-wing propaganda in our schools, I announced last week that we're launching a pro-American lesson plan for students called 1776 Commission. We will teach our children the truth about America. that we are the most exceptional nation on the face of the earth, and we are getting better and better all the time. We got it. No party can lead America that will not teach our children to love America. Biden's running mate, Kamala. Who likes Kamala? Does anybody like her? She was the most failed candidate in the entire. I mean, she started off good, and every week she went down. 15 points, 12 points, 11 points, 9 points, 6 points, 5 points, 4 points, 2 points. Didn't she leave at about 2 or 1? She was heading down to the basement. She was so mean to him, I felt sorry for him. No, I did. I felt sorry. She called him everything from a racist to a Me Tooer. He was a Me Too. He was a part of the Me Too generation. What she called him, what she said. So I brilliantly said, well, he can't pick Pocahontas because she was too nasty. How nasty was she to Bloomberg? Was she unbelievable? Boy, he was standing there. What happened? What happened? No, actually, what happened? What happened? Mini Mike. He's another beauty. He's a real beauty. Mini Mike, what happened? What the hell happened? He hit her so hard. Remember? She hits him with about 30 different things, and she said, and I'm not talking about our president. He thought she was talking about me. Can you believe it? And I'm not talking. I'm talking about you. He said, what? Get me out of here. Get me out of here. And now he wants to buy his way back into the Democrat Party. He wants to buy his way back into the Democrats. He hasn't taken enough abuse. If I were him, I'd sort of either ride it out or stay with the good Trump economy and get even richer, you know? Biden's running mate even urged supporters to help the bail rioters out of jail. You saw that? Including one who attempted to murder a police officer and a man accused of sexually assaulting an 8-year-old child. Now they're trying to free him on bail. They're putting up the money to get him out. Biden's plan to appease the domestic terrorists, and that's what it is. And my plan is to arrest the domestic terrorists. And that's what we've done. Got many people in jail. Many people. Remember what I told you about the monuments. Just remember, isn't it beautiful? We don't see that anymore. Have you seen a monument knocked down recently? No. We don't see it anymore. I don't know. We want to rip down, right? Abraham Lincoln. You know, it got to Lincoln. First it was people, not too many people heard of. Confederate soldiers, etc. You know, you say, hey, look, you know, do it through a process. But they started hitting Lincoln. Then they hit Gandhi. Now, Gandhi was about peace. Gandhi just wanted peace. Leave me alone. Peace, peace, peace. Let's rip them down. They're sick people. The Democrat Party's war on cops has already led to a surge in vicious murders in Democrat-controlled cities, costing countless black lives. If Biden and the left gain power, they will dismantle police departments nationwide. I'll tell you, the community that's most hurt by what they're doing, and there is the black community, the Hispanic community. As president, and we're doing great in the polls with the black community and the Hispanic community, right? And the Asian community. We're doing great. In fact, we did so well last night on one poll. They said it must be a typo. They did. It must be an error. It wasn't. It's no error. You're going to find out on November 3rd it's no error. As president, I will always stand, and I will always stand with the men and women of law enforcement. Right? They're great people. They're very brave people. Not easy, and they don't get support. We have to give them back their dignity. We have to let them do their job. That's very simple. They're great. We're joined tonight by two high school football players. They became very famous. They became very, very famous. They became more famous than President Trump. They were beautiful. I watched them running through the crowds with those flags. And here someplace, I don't know, got a lot of people here. We're going to try and figure it out. Hold up your flag. Jared Bentley and Brady Williams, who were recently suspended from their high school football team. after displaying flags in support of our police and first responders on the anniversary of September 11th attacks. Where are they? Come up here, fellas. Come up. Come up here. Come up here. Secret Service is thrilled about this. See, these young kids can hop over the fence like it's nothing. Come up here. They're good-looking kids. So I want to congratulate you. You've become famous. They're going to go to Hollywood. They're going to become movie actors right now. Great. You feel good about it? Huh? Yeah, of course I do. How's your team doing? What was that? How's your team? How's it doing? Huh? Could be better. He said it could be better. You know what? You're doing great. And everybody out here loves you, and they appreciate you. They appreciate you. You're great guys. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. Is your arm okay? Good. You all right? Good. Good guys. Good guys. So Jared and Brady, thank you for supporting the heroes and our law enforcement. We all love you. I'm telling you, you really set something up that's incredible. And thank your parents for letting you do it. I watched. You had to get, you ask your parents' approval. Isn't that nice? And you know what the father said? You better do it. Right? That's great. Thank you very much, fellas. Great job. Really great job. Country has a lot of respect. And speaking about warriors, we're also joined tonight by some great, great congressmen who are warriors, and they represent Ohio so well, and they love you, and they love our country. Representative Bob Latta. Thank you, Bob. Great job. They like you, Bob. That's very good. Good job, Bob. Thank you very much. Congressman Warren Davidson. You know Warren. Thank you, Warren. Great job, Warren. And Congressman Mike Turner, great lawyer, actually. Thank you, Mike. Great job, Mike. Really great. Ohio Treasurer Robert Sprague. Robert, thank you. Thank you. Good treasurer. Ohio Auditor Keith Faber. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Keith. Ohio House Speaker Bob Cupp. Great. Thank you, Bob. Great job. Ohio Senate President Larry Obhoff. Thank you. Thank you, Larry Obhoff. Larry's a good man. How's it going, Larry? Good? You doing a good job? Huh? You doing good? How are we doing, Larry? Is it going good?
We're going to make Ohio great again.
He said, you're right about that. You're doing a great job. Thanks, Larry. I appreciate it. Ohio GOP Chairman Jane Timken. She's unbelievable. Thank you, Jane. How are we doing, Jane? How's it going? How does it compare to 4 years ago, Jane? Up, higher? All right, good. Good. I think we are. I think we are. And a friend of mine that, I'll tell you, this is the greatest optimist. When I thought we had to be down, we lost a lot of the top support, the head of the Republican Party, little things like that. I said, we don't have a head of the Republican Party. He left because you had a terrible governor in this state. Terrible. Your previous governor was terrible. He was terrible. And I'll tell you, I got this man. I didn't know him. And within about a week, I said, man, this guy's a big optimist. And he was right. He called it right to the thing. He ran my campaign. And when it came back for the second time, we had him in a high position. I said, Bob, I think you're great. You're doing a great job. I want you back in Ohio. We have to do it again. Bob Paduchek. Where's Bob? Bob, thank you. Thank you, Bob. Get over here, Bob. Thank you, Bob. He wants no glamour. He wants no glory. He just wants to win. And he called it right down to the bone. We had a rough couple of days. I said, Bob, how are we doing? You went up 2 points. I said, you got to be kidding. But, you know, we did. We had so much evolves around Ohio. And it's just a state that we have a relationship with. You know, it's a great state. We've done a great job for you, and you've done a great job for us, so we appreciate it very much. Thank you. Together, we've spent the last 4 years reversing the damage done by the Democrats and Joe Biden over a 47-year period. Think of it. He's always talking about, you should have done this, you should have done that. You know, he really just left office. It's not that long ago, right? He's been there for years and years, and now he should have done. He's never going to do anything. He's never going to do anything. Guy is a stone-cold loser. Biden supported every globalist sellout of Ohio workers for over a half a century, including NAFTA, China's entry into the World Trade Organization, the disaster known as TPP, and how about the Paris Climate Accord? That's another beauty, I'll tell you. That was designed to hurt our country. You would have lost trillions of dollars, closed your factories all over the place. In the meantime, China didn't kick in for another 10 years. The whole thing was a rigged deal. I tell you, I said, I'm going to get killed for this one, but we're going to terminate. And you know what? The people got it right away. Everybody understood. That was another ripoff of our country. This state lost 1 in 3 manufacturing jobs after the NAFTA and China disasters. Joe Biden is a shameless phony who pretends, he doesn't have a clue. What the hell? We're talking like he knows. He's got guys around him that are pretty smart. They're radical left. He's going to do whatever they tell him to do. He pretends to care about blue-collar workers after spending more than 5 decades in Washington. He tells me, why did you do this? Why didn't you do that? You see these fake commercials. Why did you do it? I said, I've only been here 3.5 years. This guy's been here for 47 years. He didn't do anything. History says when you're here for 47 years and you fail, it's not going to happen. But he was closing your factories, opening your borders, outsourcing your jobs, and inflicting economic carnage on your towns, and you know that. And I came along, and you had the greatest couple of years you've ever had. To save our auto industry, Pacific Partnership was a horror. My actions saved countless jobs across Ohio and here in Toledo, the home of the Jeep, right? The home of the Jeep. That's good. That's a great brand. They've done a great job with Jeep. Jeep, everyone loves Jeep. Earlier this year, I kept my promise to Ohio when we ended the NAFTA nightmare. I proudly signed the brand new U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement into law. That's a big difference, like day and night. It's working out great, too. It's working out great. You know how I know that it's a good deal for us? Because they don't like it. I took the toughest ever action to stand up to China's rampant theft of Ohio jobs. We achieved American energy. We passed record tax cuts and regulations. Our energy independence is incredible. We have now energy independence. We don't have to be in these faraway lands anymore. Now, we'll be there to help certain allies that have been great, but we don't have to be. Since my election, natural gas production in Ohio has surged 63%. They want to close it up. By the way, you do know they want to close it up. They want to close up all fracking, natural gas, everything. They want to close it up. This would kill at least 700,000 Ohio jobs, probably more than 1 million. While I'm president, America will remain the #1 producer of oil and natural gas on earth. Ohio workers will continue leading the way. I just left the great state of Texas, and I talked to a lot of people like this, a great crowd of people. We have tremendous support all over the country. I'll tell you what, these people are great. And here's the platform that they have. Sleepy Joe Biden. No oil, no religion, no God, and no guns. Now, I'm in Texas. It's really rough being in Ohio, but now we're talking Texas. No oil, that doesn't work well in Texas, right? No guns, that doesn't work well in Texas. No God, look what they're doing to the churches and everything. That doesn't work. No God, no religion. That doesn't work well. You would have to be George Washington with your running mate would be Abraham Lincoln, okay, your VP candidate, and you'd still lose very big. And then they say, yeah, he's doing okay. He's 2 up in Texas. They said it last time, too, that Texas is even 4 years ago. And everybody said, no, I think Trump is killing it. We'd have stadiums with 25, 30,000 people, much more they couldn't get in. We'd have 40, 50,000 people outside. And they'd say I was even. We won in a landslide, just like we won this state in a landslide. You know, the expression they use, Texas is in play. You know what in play means? It could go either way. And guys would get on and say, I don't think so. And then that night again, the polls in Texas have closed. Donald Trump has won the great state of Texas. I mean, the whole thing is crazy. It's crazy. You know what they do? It's suppression polls. They try and depress you. They try and make you happy so you're unhappy. So you go out to dinner with your wife, your husband. You go out to dinner. Darling, let's have dinner. It's so sad. We love Donald, but he just can't make it. Can't make it. Let's go out, have dinner. We'll come home, watch the results. Except 2016 came and nobody did that. They all went out and voted. And we kicked ass. Was that, tell me, was that the most exciting evening in the history of television? Did you ever see the ratings, the combined ratings? I think the biggest ever. But was that the most exciting, 2016, was that the most exciting evening in the history of television? Right? We invested $2.5 trillion in the U.S. military, including more than $6 billion in contracts. You know, I'll tell you what. Do you like the word pronounced Lima or Lima? Because I saved Lima. Can I tell you what? I saved Lima. You know, I came here, and they were going to close that plant in Lima. They were going to close the tank plant, right? It was done. And I said, why are we closing a tank plant? And I got a couple of calls from my friends, a congressman right here. And I got calls, and Jim Jordan called me. Do you like Jim Jordan? He's great. And I looked at this Army tank plant in Lima. I said, why are we closing it? And I saw the people building the tanks, and the technology is incredible. And if you ever close it, you'd never be able to open a thing like that again. So I overrode the generals. I overrode everybody. And now we're making a record number of tanks in that plant, and it's absolutely thriving. But we had tremendous success. We took 100% of the ISIS caliphate, and we killed the founder and leader of ISIS, al-Baghdadi. We took out the world's #1 terrorist and the mass murderer of American troops and many other people. Qasem Soleimani is dead. He's dead. I withdrew from last administration's disastrous Iran nuclear deal. They paid $150 billion plus $1.8 billion in cash. You know what they got? Nothing. They got nothing. I kept my promise, recognized the true capital of Israel, and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. Every president for many, many decades said they were going to do it. They never did it. They never did it. They didn't have the guts to do it. They campaigned on it. They were all going to do it. Then they got there. There was a lot of pressure put on them, a lot of pressure put on me. Every leader was calling all over the world, please don't do it. Please don't do it. Mr. President, please don't do it. Don't do it. Don't move it. It's not. Just leave it the way it is. It's okay. But I promised. And I said, I'm going to do it. And then I got calls from the biggest people in the world, kings. I got calls from presidents, from prime ministers. Please don't do it. Then I got calls, please have him call me back, me. I said, look, tell everybody I'm out for 3 days. I'm not going to be able to call him back. I had a news conference. We announced it. Then I called everybody back. Hey, how you doing? How's everything going? Everything going good? Yeah, well, I want to talk to you about Israel, but it's too late. You already did it. And we did it. And we got it done. And nobody else got it done. And it's something we had to do. I also recognize Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. And instead of endless wars, we are forging peace all over the Middle East. And you saw that. And I'm the only man that got nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, and I didn't get any press. They wouldn't put it in. Right? For 2 of them. Last week, I'm not bragging. talking about. I'm just saying, I'm the president of the United States. Because of Kosovo, Serbia, they've been killing each other for years. I worked out a deal for them. I got nominated. And then Israel with Bahrain and UAE and many more to come. I mean, they all want to do it. We'll have peace in the Middle East without blood all over the sand. No blood. We're going to have peace in the Middle East. So I was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. And I told the story last night. Should I tell it or not? Should I? Yes? She wants me to tell it. So I go home to our great First Lady. I said, First Lady, you're going to be so proud of me tonight. I was nominated not once but twice for totally separate events by different people, great people. First Lady, I was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. I was like this. I was nominated. It's a big deal for our country, right? And she said, oh, that's good. I said, let's turn on the evening news. Let's watch it. This is going to be a big show tonight. Get ready. And NBC, which is one of the most crooked, one of the worst newscasts. And I'm talking about normal NBC, not MSDNC. MSDNC is the worst. But so I turned on NBC with Lester Holt, another beauty. And they saw it with a hurricane, and then they went to something, and something else. And I'm saying, First Lady, this is getting a little embarrassing. We're 20 minutes into a half-hour show. They haven't mentioned the Nobel Peace Prize. And then it went through the whole show, and they never mentioned. Then I got nominated for a second one, they never mentioned. And when Barack Hussein Obama got nominated. No, when Barack Hussein Obama got nominated, he didn't know why he was nominated. It was like right at the very beginning. He didn't do anything. He did nothing. And he got nominated. It was the biggest story I've ever seen. But that's okay. In the meantime, we're president and they're not, right? No, it is true. You would think if you're nominated for the Nobel Prize, you'd get maybe a 0.5%. The First Lady, she sort of said, sorry, darling, that's the way it goes, isn't it? I said that. Joe Biden opposed the mission to take out Osama bin Laden. He opposed killing Soleimani. He voted for the Iraq War, a disaster. He backed the disastrous Iran nuclear deal. And he cheered the rise of China as a very positive development for our country. Oh, it's really great. If it were up to Sleepy Joe, bin Laden and Soleimani would be alive today. ISIS would be on a rampage. Iran would control the Middle East. And China would be the dominant power anywhere in the world. And I want to tell you, if you go back a few months before this pandemic, we were gaining. We had an insurmountable lead on China. I always heard they were going to catch us by 2019 for 10 years. We were so far beyond. We were doing much better than they were. The Biden agenda would obliterate our economy. He'd destroy Social Security, destroy protections for pre-existing conditions. That's what he's going to do. Drain your Medicare by giving away your health care to illegal immigrants. He would end our travel bans on jihadist regions and increase refugee admissions by, listen to this, over 700%. And this is the manifesto with Bernie Sanders, with Crazy Bernie. He made this deal with Crazy Bernie. And by the way, a lot of the Crazy Bernie voters last time, 4 years ago, voted for Trump because of trade. Because they understand, the one thing they do understand, that our country's been ripped off for years. Biden opposes school choice and vowed to ban charter schools. Very important to have them. In a second term, I will provide school choice to every parent in America. They're totally against it. A vote for Republicans is a vote for safe communities, great jobs, and a limitless future for all Americans. And just in conclusion, first of all, it's been a great honor to be with you. This is really, it's a great state. They're great people. I really mean it. No, I really mean it. Get out there on November 3rd. We got to win this one big. This is a bad ideology. This is probably a step beyond socialism. I really think in many ways it's communism we're talking about. This is a step beyond. Socialism's no good. Communism's really bad. But get out there on November 3rd and let's show them your stuff and show them all of it, the stuff of all of us. over the next 4 years, we will make America into the manufacturing superpower of the world, and we will end the reliance, this ridiculous, crazy reliance on China and all of these faraway lands once and for all. We will make our medical supplies right here in the United States. We will hire more police, and by the way, thank you, police, thank you, law enforcement. Increase penalties for assaults on law enforcement, and we will ban deadly sanctuary cities. We will defend the dignity of work and the sanctity of life. We will uphold religious liberty, free speech, and the right to keep and bear arms. We will strike down terrorists who threaten our citizens, and we will keep America out of these ridiculous, stupid, endless foreign wars. We will maintain America's unrivaled military might. Our military might has never been like it is right now because of what we've done. And we had no choice, and hope to God we never have to use it. Because if you would ever see the power of what we've done over the last 3 years, it would be, it's almost better for you not to see it. We are the envy of every power, every country in the world. We have weapons that nobody ever even thought possible. And just as I said, hope to God we never have to use them. And the way we don't have to use them is to keep that kind of strength. Nobody's going to be talking to us. We're going to have peace through strength. And it's all made in the USA. All made in the USA. We'll end surprise medical billing. Require price transparency. I've already signed it into law. Kicks in on January 1st. It's going to cut your bills down to a level that you wouldn't believe. That doesn't mean the drug companies and the hospital corporations are happy with me, but that's okay. And further reduce health insurance premiums and the cost of prescription drugs by 50, 60, and 70%. Big Pharma does not like me too much. They're taking ads about me that are so bad, but you get it. You understand. They're not too thrilled with me, including the rebates. The rebates go back to you. The rebates before went back to very rich people. We will strongly protect Medicare and Social Security, and we will always protect patients with pre-existing conditions. And America will land the first woman on the moon, and the United States will be the first nation to land an astronaut on Mars. That's what's happening. NASA is the leading space station anywhere in the world. There's nothing like a space center, what we've done. And there was grass growing in the runways when I took over 3.5 years ago. We will stop the radical indoctrination of our students and restore patriotic education to our schools. We will teach our children to love our country, honor our history, and always respect our great American flag. And we will live by the timeless words of our national motto, "In God we trust." For years you had a president who apologized for America. Now you have a president who is standing up for America and standing up for the great state of Ohio. So get your friends, get your family, get your neighbors, get your coworkers, get everybody, and get out and vote. Got to get out and vote. And in your state, in Ohio, early voting has already begun, and don't wait. And when you see them cheating on the other side, I don't say if, when you see them cheating with those ballots, all of those unsolicited ballots, those millions of ballots, you see them, anytime you do, report them to the authorities. The authorities are waiting and watching. From Akron to Columbus, from Cincinnati, the Queen City, I know it well, to Cleveland, and from Dayton to Toledo, we inherit the legacy of generations of Ohio patriots like Neil Armstrong, Annie Oakley, William McKinley, and the amazing Ulysses S. Grant. That's good. Nobody's stock has gone up like Grant. Nobody in the last 10 years. We stand on the shoulders of American heroes who crossed the oceans, blazed the trails, settled the continent, tamed the wilderness, dug out the Panama Canal, laid down the railroads, raised up the skyscrapers, won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and made America the single greatest nation in the history of the world, and you haven't seen anything yet. Proud citizens like you help build this country, and together we are taking back our country. We are returning power to you, the American people. With your help, your devotion, and your drive, we are going to keep on working, we are going to keep on fighting, and we are going to keep on winning, winning, winning. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together with the incredible people of Ohio, we will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, Ohio. Get out and vote. Thank you.
And thank you for keeping it here with Real America's Voice. That was President Trump as he spoke in Swanton, Ohio. The president spoke to thousands at the Toledo airport. Our very own Amanda Head, David Zier, and Maggie Vandenberg are on location in Ohio, bringing us our live coverage. Now let's bring in David Zier. David, President Trump mentioned over a 16-year period, the median income grew $3,000, and in his first 3 years, it grew $7,000. Let's take a listen.
The presidents Obama and Bush, median household income rose only $2,945. So remember that. That's 16 years, 2009. So let's say 3,000. Under 3 years of President Trump, it rose almost $7,000, okay? So think of that. 16 years, 3 years, achieving the highest median income in the history of our country. In my first 3 years, we lifted 6.6 million people out of poverty, the largest poverty reduction of any president in the history of our country. We built the greatest economy in the history of the world, and we are doing it again. We're building it again. You know, I see those signs, make America great great again. So I say this, it's called now, Make America Great Again, again.
And David, my question to you is, do you think Americans know this information?
Summer, final thoughts. So once again, Trump lit up the crowd tonight. You know, he made the economy better in Ohio. He has natural gas production up over 61%. He honored the 2 high schoolers that brought out the blue line flags on out to football field, and they got suspended, and he brought them up. The crowd went crazy about that. It was really like an intimate, moment for the president with these people from Ohio here. And then Trump said that if you elect Biden, there's no guns, there's no oil, and there's no God. He saved the tank plant. I believe they make the M1A2 over there in Lima, Ohio. They were going to shut it down, and he overrode the generals, and he realized that they'll never be able to recreate a plant like that again. And then he talked about how he was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, and the press didn't even pay attention to it. So once again, Trump just had so many things to say here. He said the Democratic run cities are horrible places to be in. He said you can riot, but you can't go to church. And he said the media was wrong the last time in the polls, and that he's going to do it again. So it was really electric. The crowd's on fire here. I think Trump might take Ohio.
All right, thank you, David, so much for your coverage today. We can tell how loud it is in there still as everybody is exiting. What an exciting night. But now let's head over to Amanda. Amanda, what are your thoughts for the evening? Okay, I think it's very loud in there, and I've been to a Trump rally and they are loud, so we can't blame them for not being able to hear us. Do we maybe have Amanda again, or should we head over to Maggie? Okay, we're gonna head out to Maggie. Maggie, are you there? Can you hear me? Okay, it looks like we're having audio issues with them because it's so loud in there that they can't hear me clearly. But anyways, I wanted to say thank you to Amanda Head, Maggie Vandenberg, and David Zier for all of their coverage today while in Ohio. We really appreciate it. And I also want to thank Tudor Dixon for joining me earlier for pre-rally coverage. You can catch Tudor on America's Voice Live every weekday, Monday through Friday from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time here on Real America's Voice. And I wanted to give you my final thoughts for the night. It wasn't anything that President Trump specifically said. Rather, it was the fact that he spoke in Dayton, Ohio earlier in the day and then flew straight over to speak to thousands in Swanton, Ohio, there at the airport with the same exact energy. And that speaks volumes, especially when you compare it to when you see Biden speaking at events. And I hope others noticed, because the U.S. presidency is arguably the most important job in the world, and energy and stamina is a must. And with that, I want to thank you for joining us here on Real America's Voice for our special live rally coverage while the president was in Ohio tonight. We'll see you back here for more rally coverage tomorrow when President Trump will be in Moon Township, Pennsylvania, for another step on his Make America Great Again re-election campaign trail. Thank you again. I'm Jessica Rivera. But before we go, we're going to leave you with this rally recap. Good night.
Welcome to Wisconsin. We are on site of the CWA. It is the Central Wisconsin Airport in Mosinee, Wisconsin, where President Trump is set to touch down a little bit later on this afternoon, earlier this evening, in front of a crowd of what I have heard is going to be 1,200. COVID's got nothing on us. Anything for the president.
Biden wins. Very simple. China wins. If Biden wins, the mob wins.
Because he is a great president, especially for the Black American community.
The Democrats want us to be a communist country.
If we win, very simply, America wins, and that's what we want.
The man has been phenomenal. What he says he's going to do, he has shown he's capable of doing it.
Trump has really made a big difference for the military.
Over the last 3.5 years, we've secured America's borders, fixed the disastrous trade deals. They have been the worst ever. Brought back our manufacturing jobs, rebuilt the awesome power of the U.S. military.
President Trump is a breath of fresh air in many ways.
They are on their feet. There are chairs here, believe it or not, but people are on their feet because they are ready to hear the president.
Your state will be overrun and destroyed if Biden and the radical left win.
This is the most important election in history, and everyone's got to get out and get voted. You talk to people at a gas station, wherever, you tell them about our president, what he's done.
Because this is a protest. It's a protest against stupidity.
President Trump has said all along that this country is based in peace and that we need to protect our cities.
What do you think about Antifa? Well, it's an ideology. I said, no, It's not it's a bunch of thugs and anarchists.
Screw racial politics. Screw all this stuff coming from the left. We are conservatives, and we love this country, and we love Donald Trump.
Our country is amazing. It's an amazing country. We love this country, and we're not going to let radical left socialists / communists take over our country.
The Democrat Party is no longer that party. It's a radical, crazy left party.
This is not, just so you know, the crowd of a man that's coming in second. Over the next 4 years, we will make America into the manufacturing superpower of the world. And we will end our reliance on China and other countries once and for all. No, we're not doing any shutdowns. We're rounding the turn. Without the vaccine, we're rounding the turn. With the vaccine, it'll just speed it up.
We are in Swanton, Ohio, outside of the Trump rally.
Yeah, we're big Trump supporters. We love everything that Trump is doing. He represents who we are as individuals.
You've been doing great at delivering what you promised.
So as our nation mourns the loss of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I will soon announce a nominee for the United States Supreme Court.
Promises made, promises kept, and then some. And he loves the American people, and he loves America. Trump 2020.
I just like to say, Trump gets stuff done.
If Joe Biden and the Democrats take power, they will pack the Supreme Court with far-left radicals.
Nobody's falling for Biden and his foolishness anymore. It's not going to work.
I think he's the greatest thing we've had in years. He says what he has to say. He knows what he's doing.
We are doing really well with the African American community, with the Hispanic community. We're doing well with women. We're doing very well. We're doing well with suburbia.
It's a myth. It's a myth, everybody, that they say that blacks don't vote for Trump.
That's what we're here today for, to be on the peace train of Trump. And he's bringing change. He's truly bringing the change.
There's not much you can't name that he won't do. When he says he's going to do it, he does it.
So I think the suburban women and suburban men and husbands and wives and everybody, you better get smart, because you're not going to have your dream very much longer if they get in. If I get in, you've got it. You've also got your Second Amendment if I get in.
Thank you all very much. Glad you're in here on a Monday night. So, well, I do what the audience wants. They want Crazy Town again, G. I wasn't going to do it here because I got more to get to. But we'll get to it again here. So here's we've been talking about this open seat and the Democrats and how full of it they are. Well, just here's another way to show you. So roll that. All right, listen up.
There is no Biden rule.
It's frankly ridiculous. There is no Biden rule. It doesn't exist.
In a presidential election year, we always take care of the nomination.
And then, of course, the Senate has a job to do. Give that nominee a fair hearing,
of course,
and a timely vote. The Supreme Court needs a full complement of justices on the bench.